Hello and welcome, welcome, welcome. It's me, Dr. Deirdre again, and I'm here with another lesson. Today, we're going to do some punctuation practice with sentences. We're going to identify punctuation marks that end sentences. We're going to learn what makes a sentence a sentence. We're going to learn about 4 types of sentences, and we're going to have fun with punctuation marks. Let's get started. Now, I'm sure you know already that every sentence begins with a capital letter and ends with a punctuation mark. What is a sentence? A sentence is a group of words that expresses a complete thought. It tells us 2 things. 1, the person, animal, or thing that the sentence is about, and 2, what the person, animal, or thing does or is. Let's talk about what punctuation marks are. Well, since we're talking about sentences and complete thoughts, we'll use these punctuation marks: a period, question mark, and an exclamation point. Those are marks that you use at the end of sentences. They make a complete thought an official sentence. The first type of sentence we're going to talk about or refresh your memory about is a declarative sentence. That sentence just simply makes a statement. Periods are used at the end of declarative sentences. Here's an example. I went for a walk in the park. The next type of sentence we'll talk about is the imperative sentence. These sentences make a command or a request. They can end with a period. But if the command has strong feelings, it will usually end with an exclamation point. Let's try one that ends with a period. Take out your books and turn to page 25 so we can begin the lesson for today. One that has strong feelings and might end with an exclamation point might be, sit down and be quiet now. That might be an imperative sentence that ends with an exclamation point. Then we have the interrogative sentence. That type of sentence simply asks a question. It ends with a question mark. Here's an example. Did you like the movie you went to see yesterday? The exclamatory sentence is our last sentence. This type of sentence usually expresses strong feeling, and it usually ends with an exclamation point. Let's see if I can think of one. Look out for that car! Sending a strong warning to whoever's running out in the street, right? Now, I'm going to do a read aloud for you today called Punctuation Takes a Vacation. It's one of my favorite books. Now, in this book, we're going to talk about all the punctuation marks we can use. But our lesson today, we know, just focuses on those punctuation marks that complete sentences. Punctuation Takes a Vacation was written by Robin Pulver and illustrated by Lynn Rowe Reed. Punctuation Takes a Vacation by Robin Pulver, illustrated by Lynn Rowe Reed. Day after day, the punctuation marks showed up in Mr. Wright's classroom. Day after day, they did their jobs. They put up with being erased and replaced and corrected and ignored and moved around. Then, on the hottest, stickiest day the class had ever seen, right in the middle of a lesson about commas, Mr. Wright mopped his forehead and said, "Let's give punctuation a vacation." As the kids cheered and headed for the playground to cool off, the punctuation marks stared at one another in disbelief. "Is this the thanks we get?" asked the question mark. "Well," huffed the exclamation point, Now, said a comma. We should take a vacation, said a period. They'll soon learn how much they need us. It's 11 now, said a colon. Let's leave at 11:02. Great, said an exclamation point. Don't leave without us, yelled the apostrophe. Whoosh! Punctuation rushed out the door. Whoosh! They rushed back in to grab the quotation marks, who were too busy talking to pay attention. When Mr. Wright's class returned from the playground, they couldn't wait to find out what happened in chapter 4 of their book, Ace Scooper, Dog Detective. Mr. Wright opened his mouth to read aloud, but then he stopped and stared. This is weird. The punctuation is missing. Where could it be? Yikes, maybe punctuation took a vacation. We are in big trouble now. Whew. Mr. Wright was right. Nothing made sense without punctuation. A couple of days later, the school secretary delivered a small bundle of postcards to Mr. Wright's class. They were postmarked, Take a Break Lake. Do you miss us? How much? Why couldn't we take a vacation sooner? Guess who? We flop, we plop, we stop. We stay put in our lounge chairs. We are happy thinking our complete thoughts. Thoughtfully yours, sentence stoppers. Dear friends, swimming, sailing, sunning, soaring, water skiing. Next time we must remember bug spray, toothpaste, flashlight, water skis. Sincerely, mist makers. Greetings, Mr. Wright's class. This postcard doesn't take the place of a letter. If anybody takes the place of a letter, that's us. It's our job. We know we're possessive, but that's the way we are. Don't forget us while we're gone. Substitutes. A big hello from Vacation Paradise, where the water is as clear as a well-punctuated sentence. We talk all day, we talk all night. Too busy talking to write anymore. The yakety yaks. Kids, writing this on schedule at 1:15. Yummy lunch at 11:55. Going swimming at 3 sharp. The timekeepers. Wow, what a ride! You should try tubing. Scary, fun, yikes! Hold on! We want mommy! Emotional us. Looks like punctuation's having a great time. The kids guessed who wrote the postcards, and they wanted to write back, but they couldn't write without punctuation. The best they could do was borrow some from Mr. Rongo's class next door, where punctuation seemed to be running wild. Dear punctuation, please come back. We need you. We miss you too. Life at school is difficult without you. We can't do reading, writing, or riddles without punctuation. Chapter 4 of our book, Ace Scooper, doesn't make sense. We will never take punctuation for granted again. Won't you please come back before 10:00 on Friday? Mr. Wright says, punctuation, Please come home. Sincerely, Mr. Wright S. Class. Mr. Wright S. Class. Punctuation, take a break late. Urgent! Hurry! So the punctuation marks returned to Mr. Wright's classroom to do the jobs only they could do. Mr. Rongo's unruly punctuation scrambled back to their own classroom. We have so much to tell you. Who did you miss the most? It's good to be back in Mr. Wright's class. Commas, periods, exclamation points, question marks, colons, apostrophes, quotation marks. Take your places. 10 a.m. Time to study us. Hooray for punctuation. The end. I hope you enjoyed that story. I sure did. And I'm glad punctuation came back from their vacation. Now, you're going to do an activity of your own. You're going to make your own punctuation marks. The ones we talked about that end sentences, we're not going to make the commas and the colons and the semicolons and the apostrophes. We're just going to make those that come end sentences to make them complete thoughts. So for this activity, you'll need markers, any color, crayons and colored pencils, one or the other if you have them, scissors, and construction paper. You're going to make your own period, question mark, and exclamation point. So before you get started, I want to show you some examples of some punctuation marks some of my students made some years ago. You'll see here the little periods. Hi. Then I have an exclamation mark. And this big punctuation mark here is my question mark. So you can be as creative as you want. These were made by my students when I taught second grade. So if you have the fancy scissors that make shapes when you cut them out, use those too. Have fun, get started. Now that you've had time to make your own punctuation marks, let's do some punctuation practice. And I'm going to use the punctuation marks that my students made to practice with and complete these sentences. You can use yours when you make your own sentences to practice with. Use your punctuation marks that you made. Let's get started. Let's see. Let's look at this sentence. We ate eggs for breakfast. That's just simply making a statement. So I bet a period would be great at the end of this sentence. And remember, boys and girls, it doesn't matter if your punctuation mark fits perfectly on the paper or not. This is just fun practice. The next sentence, I went for a walk. Another statement. Let's put a period at the end. And I have tape on the back of mine so they can just stick to the paper a little better. And I could post them on the wall with the punctuation marks so my students could see their punctuation marks posted around the room. I have another set of sentences. Let's try these last two before we go. Stop running, a car is coming. If I read it like that, I should probably put an exclamation point at the end. And again, doesn't matter if they fit or not. This is just fun practice. And the last one, did you like the movie we saw last night? Sounds like a question to me. So I'm going to use this gigantic question mark here to place at the end of this sentence. Wasn't that fun? You can try it now on your own at home. So today, boys and girls, we identified punctuation marks that end sentences. We learned that a sentence is a group of words put together to make a complete thought. We also learned that a sentence begins with a capital letter and ends with a punctuation mark. A punctuation mark is either a period, a question mark, or an exclamation point. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed making your own punctuation marks. And again, if your parents will be so kind, or if they'll allow you, take pictures of your punctuation marks and some of your practice sentences with your punctuation marks and have them email them to me at booksbydeirdre@gmail.com. I'd love to post them on my Facebook page and my website. Happy learning and be safe.